Are we all live? So happy to be here. Turn on some light. I hope your summers have been incredible. Brianna's here. If you're on live, please say hello. It's super, guys, it's super awkward to do these classes. And I can see there's people on live, like Facebook tells me, right? And then like have no one say anything. I'm like, all right, what's going on? It's going to be a good class. If you're here live, say hello. Heather's here. I saw Serena was like waiting in the corridor. Christy's here. Serena's here. She says hello. I love it. I love it, you guys. So excited to have you all here. Ooh. Can I just take a moment and share some serious gratitude for clients in the program? I love you all so much. All of what I do and how it's been able to be refined, the things that are becoming even more clear to me is through actively coaching people and seeing the process that I teach and the different forms that it can take. I'm hands down, when a mentor of mine told me that I needed my clients just as much as they need me, I believed them, but I hadn't had a lot of context with that. And it is true. I need you. Serena says, I like your glasses. Thanks. These are my blue blockers. Everyone loves them. Maybe I should these are my old ones, right? They're like a smaller frame. Like maybe I need to just wear bigger frames. Everyone compliments me. I know these big old, they feel big to me, big and thick. But I have a diagnosed chronic eye illness. And so blue blockers to work online is something that I get to be sure that I have invested in. So thank you, Serena. It's fun that my hair is all fun today after wearing it in braids for a few days. No, I don't have curly hair. People ask me that all the time. It should be curly hair. I'm like, no, this is braids. This is kinky braids. Okay, guys, who's ready to learn about money? I want those of you that are online, if you're on live today, prepare to be active. I want you to use the chat. Get prepared. First question, what do you think about money? What are your thoughts about money? A few of my first thoughts when I had a mentor, fantastic mentor, asked me that question. I said, it feels like a ghost. It feels like it doesn't really have form, like especially in this day and age where so much is digital and cash is going the way of things that go the way of the world. Money to me felt almost elusive. I felt like money was a big trigger for me. I felt money was hard. Guys, what are your thoughts about money? When you think about money, what are your thoughts? Put it in the chat so everybody can see. Because you're not the only one that thinks things about money. I thought people were either born into money or they had to work for money. These are some of the thoughts that I had for many years. Serena says it's scary. Yes, super common. She says she hates worrying about not being enough. Brianna says lack thereof. I think if I had more, I would stress less. Ooh, that's a good one. Christy says, I think it's hard. Great. Thanks for putting stuff in the chat, you guys. This is awesome. Awesome, awesome, awesome. And anyone watching the recording, put your thoughts in the chat. It's important as humans that we see. Heather says, ooh, I need more. And that it's hard. When we are part of a collective like this group, it's so imperative that you participate, like really, because a collective shifts to the degree that the collective moves energy. And so it's great you guys come to these classes. I'm in here pushing this energy in, but when you guys participate, you will get more out of it and everyone else will as well. When one person starts commenting and elevating the experience of the call, everybody that watches the recording, everyone that's on also experiences a little vibe shift. So you are doing a service to the world when you fully participate in something that you've decided, I'm going to take this time to participate in this class. So please, thank you. Thank you so much for coming in and putting your stuff in the chat. Another question. How much do you earn a year? And if this feels super vulnerable, don't put it in the chat. Maybe put something like 40,000 less than we want to. But if you can just put the amount you earn, what is your yearly income, and put it in the chat. Getting real with these numbers. We're getting real today. What is your guys' number? Me and my husband's combined income right now, like thinking of our last budgeting and where it's at. And it's interesting too, because yearly income fluctuates when, so I'm like thinking about our investments and I'm thinking about so many different streams of income that we have now. We're easy over $250,000. Household, Heather, household income. Your family group. Is your, like, what kind of money flows in your family group? And hold on to that number. In a little bit, in one of my points, we're going to come back to this number. It's beautiful. So then the next question is, right now, Serena's a client. Serena and one of our other clients doubled their income last year. It's amazing. It's amazing. What we're going to talk about today, it takes time. My income didn't change in one moment. Next question, what do you want to be making in a year? What do you really feel like you want to move? What kind of energy would you feel comfortable moving in a year's time? And I voice it that way for a particular reason. What kind of income would you like to be moving? Would you feel comfortable with? And again, it's amazing what we'll think, ooh, I'm gonna have like, 50 million a year. But when we actually think about having that much money, sometimes our belief system says that would actually be too much. Like I don't know. I actually am that's so out there for me. I can't facilitate that in my brain as being something I would know what to do with or move well or, deal with. Great, you guys. Yep, Mary. Mary is one of our clients as well. So what's your numbers for what you would like to be moving, guys? Any number, guys. Don't overthink this. If you're sitting there being like, oh, it's too much, just put a number that you're just like, what very first came to your mind, maybe. Put it in there. Just drop it in the chat. And Serena and Mary, how exciting. What if those numbers double again? It's amazing. It's amazing. I love it. 10K a month, 80 to 100 grand a year, double it. These are good. It's important. It is important. If you want to shift your money situation, you have to get real with your money situation. That means talking numbers. That means putting it out there. Until you witness something, you cannot change it. You cannot change what you don't know. And a lot of us let our finances kind of just float until we have to know, right? Like, really, we let it float until we have to know, until we go to buy something and then the bank says, what's your, yearly, and what's your job? And then you get real about where your money's at. But that's when things change. That's when assets come into your life. Do you see that correlation? Beautiful, Heather. Good job, guys. Anyone else popping on live? Share your numbers. Get real with it. So if you're taking notes, and I hope you are, the first thing that I did when we started drastically shifting our income was this. You just are starting it already. Becoming aware of what you think about money. Becoming aware of where you're at with your money. And for the purpose of point 3, we're going to call this your set point. So write this number of where you're at, say my current set point. And then this number of where you want to be can just be wherever it is on the page for you to know. But what you think about money is your first step to becoming super aware so that it is possible for it to shift. So when I started becoming aware, I started to understand that my thoughts about money controlled my money outcome. And it's so interesting because as our income has doubled and tripled and changed, it wasn't like, it didn't go like this. It went very much like this. But the general trajectory started to go up. So we'd do really big amounts, 40 grand in a month, right? And then the next month would be like 8 and be like, but those are my thoughts. Oh, is this scary? Like becoming super aware of my thoughts around my money situation. And then having a coach that helped me with that. Like, okay, this happened. It no longer was this big emotional thing like, oh no, our money's less. That means something. It was, oh, I saw a dip. And the coach would help me. What happened there? Where's your beliefs about that? What's going on? The next month we'd pop up to 25,000. Okay. And then we go back to, 9. This is your money journey. Okay. What so many people do though, is they have their set point and they get comfortable there. This is just where we are. We're making, 40,000 a year. We're making 50,000 a year. This is just who we are. This is what we do. You may not say that, but like, if you act that way, you continue to buy that one thing that's always on a discount. You continue to only do that one vacation because that's the only thing you can afford. Those are your beliefs keeping you at this set point. It's really interesting. So when you start shifting your set point, you will experience this. high months and then it'll trickle and high, because you are getting used to the bigger amounts. And all of a sudden, your income can just keep growing for your whole life as you grow. So your emotional wellness, me becoming extremely curious about my emotional wellness, my thoughts, my beliefs, what's going on in my brain, because that would, all these thoughts would come in, and what is the filters with which it's going through? What do I think about money? What do I think about this situation? Being open, vulnerable, witnessing it all with accountability, with a coach to say, how do you, what's going on? I became very, very careful. And when I say careful, I mean caring, careful, very careful of my emotional well-being. I was reading a book by Viola Davis, and she talked about how she grew up extreme emotional, like no emotional support at all. And she, to the point where she like never bathed, she peed the bed a lot, but her parents were both working full time. They lived in some rundown apartment, and like she would just get up and go to school because that's what her sister told her to do. And she would be made fun of because she didn't smell good. The teachers would like never treat her the same as the other kids, let alone she was a little Black girl in a mostly white community. But she talked about, she's like, I now know, like, I didn't have any basic understanding of well-being. How could I live up to an expectation of perfection without the basics of well-being, the basic knowledge of what it's like to have your belly full? She said she was always hungry. They never had enough food. She was always hungry, always dirty. Her hair was never combed. And she said, how do you learn to climb a mountain if you don't have legs? And she talked about one day, a compassionate counselor in the school took her aside and asked her, have you ever bathed? What's it like at your house? And was really calm and gentle with her about her situation, and showed her in the school nurse station how to wash her clothes, how to wash out her underwear, how to wash her body effectively and safely. And she said from that day on, she would go home and she would wash her things in the sink like they showed her. She would dry them overnight by their furnace. And from then on, she never was so stinky. She started to understand some well-being. The teacher also got some assistance. So when she came in the morning, she could get breakfast. She started to have a full belly. She's like, that woman changed my life because all of a sudden I had well-being. I could then understand how I could pay attention in class because my belly was full, because I wasn't stinky and people weren't giving me weird looks that I didn't understand. Guys, she was like 7 years old at this time. And I thought a lot about how many things in my life I didn't have a basic foundation of wellness in a certain area. So how can I expect to get these certain results somebody was telling me I could have or should have? And I thought my emotional well-being around money needs some TLC. A lot. Has anyone else felt a lot of fear, limitation? I've seen some of these in your guys' words. I feel that. I have a lot of empathy. Those of you that don't know, I grew up, some of you I went to high school with. I grew up in a not very nice trailer home that was very, very small in the middle of a field. And we had like puffed wheat out of a bucket that my mom would steam on the stove, and then she would put honey on it. This was like my childhood, my basic memories of like when I was very young. And not to say living in a trailer or living in a field, like this was me being like, okay, this is what this is. But when I got older, I went to school and I went to a play date. This friend had like this house with grass, like a park. I never saw people had grass in their yards. I thought that was only in parks. So I went to my friend's house and I'm like, she has a freaking park in her yard. What is this? So I asked my mom. I had no idea it had to do with what they had chosen to spend their money on, right? These are just some of my beginning memories. But as I got older and as things started happening, I started being aware of emotions, my mother's emotions, my father's emotions. They were very up and down. We had a lot of explosions, and then they didn't say anything for a while. My mom would go in her bedroom for a long time. Like I didn't understand a lot of these things, right? They were loving parents. I had a great childhood. That field we lived in was full of make-believe, all the things. You better believe it. And but I started to become aware of this idea of money when I wanted things. I want that Barbie. Mom, I want to have a party. And she would say things like, we can't afford it. And over the years, I learned that meant money. Oh, money. We don't have enough. We don't have a lot. So people that have Barbies and grass and play sets in their yards have more money than us. I started to put it together. This is, you know what I mean? And I know I'm not the only one that like came from things like that. This is where our basic beliefs are formed. But through a lot of the experiences I had with siblings being sick, cars breaking down, my dad lost his job a couple of times, and I would see the emotional effects of that. And being young, I took it in, right? It's like, money's scary. Money is hard. Rich people were born to it. They didn't have to work as hard as my dad's working. Like I formed so many beliefs about money. And as I've grown up and become aware that my thoughts about money was why I was limited with money for so long, that has become a huge priority in my life. A huge priority. Where is my emotional well-being? What do I think about this thing? Get a mentor, a gentle, guiding mentor. And what I love to ask myself now when I'm struggling with a money belief is I say, what would make this ridiculously easy? What would make this really easy to change my money situation? What am I doing? Who do I talk to? What do I think I need to learn? And then take action on that stuff. Trusting my inner intuition. If this was ridiculously easy, what would I be doing? Where would I go? What's the thing I want the very most? And that started popping up ideas like work from home. Do what you do well. What? Right? What? And that goes into it flows into all these next points. But point number 2, so point number 1 is, what do you think about money? How aware are you in your money? And how are you taking care of your emotional well-being? Because that will always correlate over to how you feel if money, and everyone in this group, typically money was hard, money was scary, money, I worry about this. And so your emotional well-being, somewhere along the line, we all have a same vein where somewhere along the line, we were taught that. We were taught that money is scary from some situation. It may not have been your parents, maybe it was something your grandpa said, or some experience you and your spouse went through early in marriage, right? Amy says, I'm loving this and totally relate. Lost a lot of savings early on in our marriage, and I know I need financial relief, TLC. Absolutely. Absolutely. I witnessed this in my parents. They invested a ton of money at one point and then lost a lot of it. And it was hard. It was hard to witness, but I learned a lot. I would like to, in our second point, talk about faith before we get to our third point. Because as Christians, we believe in faith, right? You believe in faith. You know what faith is? Most scripture talks about it in some form of faith is believing in something that you don't touch. We believe in something we don't fully understand. We believe in things we cannot see with a physical touch with our 5 senses. in this, I call it the 3D world, right? The world of objects and touch and our senses. We believe in things outside of that. If you've read Think and Grow Rich, he has an excellent chapter talking about our imagination. And he's like, why did the great creator give us an imagination? Why can we imagine things? And you all displayed that on this call already. I can already see a different amount of money for me. You've already started just by becoming aware. You started using your imagination. I can imagine that amount of money. I can imagine using that. I can imagine myself, okay, keep going there. Because what's so interesting is that we have faith every day that the sun is going to come up. We have faith every day that as we step out of our beds, we are going to have gravity to keep us from floating out into the universe. Every day we have faith that a salad and a nectarine and some lean turkey is going to provide protein and vitamins and vitality to my body. I'm going to drink my water because I believe. I personally have never sat with a microscope over my own body and witnessed water going to my cells and creating hydration. I've read about it in books. I may have watched a video about it in biology class, right? But I don't see these processes happening. I can see results. I can say, oh, I had a salad for a week. Wow, my body released 5 pounds. That's interesting, right? We do these experiments on faith all the time. What I find that's been interesting for me when I first started doing this work was realizing I have faith in so many things. Why can't I have faith about money? You guys thought about that? Why can't I have more faith in this area? I believe if I go in for surgery, I'm going to wake up and I will recover. Like, that's pretty intense. Why can't I have more faith about things like money doubling in a year? Why can't I have a little more faith about my capacity in bringing money into my life? Like, really, why can't I have a little more faith about our dream home or our dream vacation, creating itself into my life? If I can believe in things like a sun that comes up every day, the process of photosynthesis, that I could get pregnant and create a human being and care for it. Whoa, we have so much faith in so many areas. Why can't I have faith in all areas? So how I started to experiment with this was making little upgrades in my life. I started getting the pedicure. I started going and getting a massage every now and then. I started investing in better eye care. I spent $35,000 in coaching in 1 year. And I learned what I was doing. I was being guided by a coach through this process. I started buying the nicer cheese at the store. I started just these little upgrades incrementally, you guys, incrementally. This was a process over about 5 years. And as I was doing this, I was like, I now was implementing a belief that said, I spend money with the full faith and expectation that I'm making room for more. Weird, right? That was weird for me at first. And so I know I can say that to you people on this call. I started making little upgrades, like, I truly expect my money situation to change. I truly expect this to shift. Those little upgrades weren't affecting my self-value or anything, but they were affecting my vibration. All money is the same vibration, whether I'm holding a penny or $1,000 bill. Money is the same. The currency of money is the same. 5 pennies vibrates up here at the vibration of money. $1 million vibrates right here at the vibration of money. The currency of wealth and money is the same. And I had to go, well, then why am I not moving this more? Why am I not living in more of this? And if this is stretching your mind and blowing your mind, just take a few notes and sit with it. Let it marinate in your mind, put it in the proverbial crock pot and let it sit. But making little investments, making little exchanges, literally, and in scripture, Jesus talks about how everything you send out comes back. And in the parable of the talents, he talks about if you go out and believe that everything you go out comes back, you go out and invest, you go out and spread this out, more will come, and comes back to the master and says, I've got these talents. You gave me 10, I'm bringing 20 back. And then he says, great, here's more. Do you see how he had to go out and expend to get more? As I started seeing these teachings in that Jesus put out, I'm like, man, I got to change my language around this. I'm making an exchange. I'm making an investment. Like, oh my gosh. Like, really? I would just make these little upgrades and money would come in. All of a sudden, those checks from the insurance company that were taking forever showed up. All of a sudden, that one thing on our tax return that had never given us a huge benefit before cashed in. All of a sudden, it was just like, and you could say, well, those would have happened anyway. Maybe, or maybe the vibration of my faith was tapping into the lady at the IRS that finally pushed process on my thing. Maybe, just maybe. Do you know what I mean? And I've seen it happen so much now. We're just getting ready for a retreat. Our retreat, by the way, there's not very many spots left. But I thought, oh, there's a certain expense. And when you run a business, you have lots of expenses. And I'm just like, I had to go, whoa, Robin, put it out there, get the rental, spend the money, invest in the caterer, right? Get these things set out. All of a sudden, an influx of X, Y, Z, Q, and L come. As I have had faith in that process, complete faith, not skeptical, blind faith, complete faith that what I go out will come back, it has. I sit in joyful expectation of it. That's new. So good. So think of what you're expecting your money to do. If you always believe your money will always drain, guess what it will? It will always drain. If you expect that your money will always be hard, it will always be hard. So that first one, becoming aware of where you're at, so important. The second one of where's my faith with this? As a Christian, someone that's following the teachings of Jesus Christ, is this an area you could possibly grow in? Where's my faith about energy? Where's my faith about money? Do I actually have any moral beliefs? This goes back to number one. Do you actually have any moral beliefs about money? That it's bad? Shouldn't want that? Because it's been my experience that money amplifies people. And if you're good people, you better go get some more money. Because you're going to do good things with it that this world needs. So bump up your emotional TLC, your worthiness factors, okay, ladies? What? You need to move more money because the world needs the way you're going to move money. Promise. So going back to your first number, that number that you said, this is where we've been at, this is our income. And realize that's your set point. Let's talk about set points. Everyone has a set point and you can change them. Me and my husband were at a set point of about 76,000 for 12 years, like a long time. It would go up and down, like from 69 to like 80. 69 to like 80 was somewhere we fluctuated for about 12 years. That's a long time. So I'm curious, if you'll put it in the chat, how long have you been at that number? And those of you that have been clients that had doubled last year, how long were you at that number before? Somewhere in the range. Like, how many years has it been that you've been at that number? Put it in the chat. How long have you been at that first number? Sierra's here. 5 years, she says. They've been at a certain set point for 5 years. We were basically the same for 13 years. Slowly growing from about 51 the last 6 years, 4 almost 5 years, about a year, 6 years since she's been out on her own. Okay. If you could change, realize this is your set point then. If it, in my experience, if it's been over like 18 months to 2 years, moving into 3 years, you're at a set point. You've energetically, you're sitting at a set point. And until you shift your awarenesses, we've talked about that goes into your belief, your faith, your self-perception. When you start shifting that, it shifts the frequency in which you're living, which shifts the amount of money that can flow for you. Okay. That's why Mary and Serena are like, how did our income double last year? I've been their coach. I know that their great grandma didn't dump $25,000 into their account. This is not how this happened. This is the frequency at which you're sitting. We get a raise, but things right. Yeah, right. So your financial set point feels similar, right? When you're living in that space. So I changed my set point through changing my self-perception. This was changing my faith level, changing my emotional well-being, all of those things changed my set point. It's like, I'm not ready to do this. Oh my gosh, I wish Stephanie was here. Those of you that are in the EMX program, Stephanie Wood, I'm just going to share her testimonial right now. She can come on and verify. But she was like, when I first started the program, one of her goals was to make $3,000 more a month. We just sat down and she's like, I'm going to make $10,000 in the next 4 weeks. And I said, what in the heck? Tell me about this. And she was talking about, she's like, I didn't even believe I could do that 5 months ago. 5 months. She's like, I didn't truly have faith that I could create $10,000 in five weeks. That's significant, my friends. If you've been sitting at a set point for 13 years, 12 years, 6 years, it's like, what am I doing then? Like, holy cow, if I can change this in 5 months. My set point skyrocketed in 18 months, 2 years ago, and it's continued on this upward trajectory. It's incredible. It's incredible. Changing your set point through self-perception work, belief work, believing, dude, I'm unique, I'm irreplaceable on this earth. It changes your vibe. Like, it works in business, it works for your spouse. As I started to shift in my belief that I was completely irreplaceable, that I am completely unique on this earth, that I am here for a completely awesome reason, and I'm awesome, God's got me, whatever goal I have is there. There's another call that talks about self-belief. Go watch that one in the group. When I was breathing these kind of words, my daughter got a raise. She got a $300 bonus for 4 months in a row. She works in daycare as an 18-year-old. Like, she's making significant money, I think. Is not what I'm making when I was 17 and 18, right? My husband had his first big, like 5 and 6 figure times in his business. When I was sharing him, man, you're so irreplaceable. You do what no one else can do in your company. It changed the kind of conversations he was having with his boss. It changed his vibration about his worth in the company. It shifted me and how I talk on these calls. You can go back and watch some of my first calls in like December 2021. There's a different vibe. There's a whole different vibe. And I see it in my clients as well. When they first come in to 5 months in, 4 weeks in, like you see the shift in how they talk, how they come about their issues. And so while you don't see $20,000 being dropped in your account, all of a sudden, over years, you see how you're not spending and coming out of Walmart with 7 bags of stuff you didn't plan to get anymore because you're not in scarcity thinking, oh, they were on sale, I had to buy them and overexpend my budget. Because now you have faith, you're always going to have what you need, so you only buy what was on your list. All of a sudden, you are more peaceful, more communicative with your husband. He's more effective at work. He gets a raise or gets more in his side job. Like these things start happening. You don't know the how, that's God's part. But if you put in the work to change your set point, I guarantee things will start shifting in your very lives. Stuff will start happening in this area. So everyone in your family group, the family group is a get together, right? A rising tide lifts all the boats. If you start lifting the energy, and I was just talking about this in a client call the other day, our energy as women is so potent. Our influence in our homes is so potent. Taking care of the mom literally changes the world. What's the story you're writing that your kids are going to be retelling? What's the mom they have? What's the money situation they're believing? What kind of words are you saying? How long will you let this current set point continue? Because there's a different way to do things. And if you're ready, come in to get next with us. Put I'm ready in the comments. Let's talk about getting into this program and like moving you along. There is a different way to do things. And I would love for you to consider these ideas, taking care of your emotionals, taking care of your emotional well-being, taking care and investing, making little upgrades, expecting the money to show up. Really, make those little upgrades. Spend money with the belief you're making more room for more. Just the other day, I bought plane tickets for my family to go on a cruise. Big, for 7 people, that's a big expense. We don't do the credit card thing and get things for like, it's just the way it is. It's the way we've chosen to do it. That was a really big chunk of cash in my belief system. And I thought, it zinged me because my old beliefs are there. But my new beliefs were able to put a little salve on it and say, it's going to be all right. Okay. And all of a sudden, we had 2 new clients come into the program in like a week. I was like, what? There was some income there. All of a sudden, we had my husband's job realize they didn't configure over 50% of his company profits. We got a check for like $11,000. I'm telling you, you guys, I know this sounds, if you've been in the place that I've been in, it sounds insane. It sounds like a bunch of hocus pocus. I promise, guys, I feel it. I promise. But as I have taken the ability and said, I'm going to have faith because I know what faith is as a Christian. I'm going to have faith in this area too. Why is this all of a sudden closed off? Become aware of your beliefs, start having faith, and start changing your set point. And your financials will start changing. If you'd like guidance, if you need a mentor, come into the Elevated Mother Experience, and we can start shifting a lot of that for you. How can I get my fiance on the same page? You can't. He has to want it. He has to want it. But I can guarantee that as you shift, either he will decide to shift too, because the words you say will feel great, or possibly I've seen relationships where they phase out. They choose a different path. That set point, if you are emotionally enmeshed with your partner, it's hard to change the set point. If you can detach and become your own individual again, that takes a process. There's people I know on this call that are probably going through some of this. You become your own person, you start to raise your own vibe, and this person as your partner can choose to benefit from that, or they choose not to. So be aware, this doesn't always look pretty all the time. So my experience has been, I changed my set points and vibration. My husband is kind of going like this, go up and down all the time. That's okay. That's where grace comes in. But I wanted to testify with you today, my friends, that you can change your financial set points. You can, absolutely. And these are some of the contexts in which I have found that to happen for me, coming from a place where I did not truly believe that I could. This was hard, that this was an energy expenditure that I just wasn't willing to do. It just wasn't in my cards, right? But it's not. Beautiful stuff. Do you want to send me a DM on any specific? Let's chat. Don't let your set points keep going though, guys. That amount you said you want, it's already out there for you. It's already done. Now you get to choose if you're going to choose the path to go get it. It's already done. That's faith. Believing that the money is already there and I'm going to go get it brings it real fast. Right. Have an amazing day. Have an amazing weekend. We'll see you guys soon.